Hi, kitty cats. Welcome to the Identify Yourself live streaming show. I am Amethyst Herrick. I am an author and a podcaster. If you check the links below, right below my head here, you can get more information about me and the work that I do. The first link there is my personal website. It's amethysta.io, and you can find all the social media networks that I currently use. So you can follow me on there and get updates on everything I do, the articles I publish, the podcasts I record, and then of course these live streams. The second one down is my professional website, and that is genderidentitytoday.com. All of my articles, all of my podcasts get published there, and I also accept work from other contributors. So if you like this content, please consider subscribing at genderidentitytoday.com. You can get a subscription for as little as $2 a month, which isn't much. And it supports all the work that I do as well as work that I'll be able to commission. So if you'd like to contribute content to Gender Identity Today, you can contact me through the personal website contact page. And finally, the last link at the bottom there is my coffee link. If you'd like to leave me a tip, that's where you can do it. You can send a tip as you see fit. So today on this show, I wanted to talk about a comment that I got on TikTok. And the comment just says, love to hear how this, and this is gender-affirming surgery, affects myself. So it doesn't really know the words, but the sense of self, how I feel about myself. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to go into a little bit of philosophy here. I will tell you I've written several articles that complete what I'm going to discuss here today, and I do have links in the show notes that you can go to after the stream is over and get a more complete treatment. But let me talk first just about identity. What is identity? There are many ways that identity has been defined. I think of identity as a complex. When I say a complex, that means that there are many factors that work together and they all interact for a greater bulk effect. Like if you like an inferiority complex, I'm sure you've heard of this. So many of us out there have them. So if you think about an inferiority complex, it wasn't just because your parents did something. There are a lot of factors that play into this, and some of them go back to childhood, some of them are ongoing, but that's why I call identity a complex. It is a complex of physical, cognitive, and behavioral aspects. And what I mean there, because that's pretty crazy sounding, I mean your body, your thoughts and emotions, and how you express yourself in your social environment. Now, this is very external. If we think about what goes deeper than that, we would talk about the self that you sometimes will see written with a capital S. So this is the real you, the deeper you who you are. Now, religions have ideas about this. Sometimes they'll think of it as a soul or a spirit. Science certainly does have some ideas about this, and science has tried to place identity into genetics, just purely genetics, into your neural activity, brain structure. Sociology and philosophy obviously have ideas about this. Sociology, one of the major ideas going about now is that everything you do is really work within a social construct. So in my own theory of identity, what I call the self, the very deepest part is what I call the origin of identity. So it's an origin. So what is this origin? It's an interesting question. At the end of the day, the answer is unimportant. It's unimportant because with our origin of identity, we have knowledge without even necessarily knowing why. And I brought this up last week. I talked about, you have your favorite vegetable. Nobody can tell you your favorite vegetable is wrong. But there are other things, belief in the divine, your political leanings. I think these are things that reside in the origin of identity that we know, but we don't really know why we know them. They're just things that are right. And some interesting facts about the origin is that they don't necessarily have to describe reality accurately. Like maybe you have a political leaning that doesn't describe how the world really works. Your origin of identity may not even be politically correct. What you believe doesn't necessarily have to mesh with your social environment around you. But everything that you know, we know that they are true. They're true for us. The reason why I'm harping on this is because in my theory, the origin of identity is immutable. It doesn't change, at least not appreciably over what we can observe in the course of a human life. This is a very important aspect of my theory of identity, because what it means is that we have a standard by which we can understand reality. If we have a list of truths that remain true, even if a relationship to those truths changes, what that allows us to do is understand our reality around us. It also gives us this foundation. It means that what we believe is not capricious. And that's important too, because there are a lot of people out there who think, oh, well, you just change your beliefs. Done. I don't think it's as easy as that. There are other reasons why I care about whether the origin of identity is mutable. Because if the origin of identity is mutable, then all the rest of this conversation about gender and identity, all of that is moot. I mean, there's no point even to talk about this, because what it implies is that if we can just beat a change of identity into somebody, we have no need for civil discourse. There are many studies that are out there that indicate that conversion therapy is not effective, has never been effective, and is not going to be effective. And this is because we have an immutable origin of identity. We know what we truly believe. And even though our relationship to the roots may change, the roots of our beliefs, the roots will not. All right, let's talk about actually developing identity here. So each of us possesses an origin of identity, but we also exist within a social environment. And that's the town you live in, the family you've got. Social environment is a pretty broad term, and it changes based on where you go. The social environment at, say, the grocery store is different from the social environment that you have, maybe at home. The social environment can be very cruel. Thank you, Alex, for that, for that particular comment. Or maybe you mean actually conversion therapy, because conversion therapy, 100% totally and completely cruel. The idea of trying to beat something into somebody, there's a whole show on that alone. So let me stop. But the way I see it, the canvas that upon which we can paint our complex of identity is the social environment. And what I mean by that is everything that goes into that complex. How we adorn our bodies. I think the social environment colors our thoughts and our emotional reactions, and certainly will change the way we behave. Developing identity on its own is simple, because in response to a stimulus from the social environment, all we have to do is look inside, see what we know. There are things that we know, and when we know them, oh, here we go, conversion therapy. Good, I'm glad I got that right. We know what we know, and all you have to do is look inside. There are many times that I think we will hold back on that. We will try to make sure that we don't figure out what we know, but that doesn't mean that we can't. And as we learn about ourselves, every aspect that we learn adds to this framework that we have for manifesting who we are. Now, manifesting identity is far more complicated than simply looking inside and going, okay, what is it that I know? Manifesting implies a negotiation with our social environment. Because what we know inside, and I'm not talking necessarily about your favorite vegetable, but what we know inside may not actually be appropriate for the social environment. And if, since so much of what I talk about has to do with gender and gender, the way that you express your gender, there are places where what may be dangerous and you don't want to express this. So you end up with a negotiation. We manifest our identities, that is, how we look, how we think, how we feel, how we act. And all of that is based on how much safety that we're going to have within our social environment. And that's really the only thing that fits into identity. There's the part inside that we know, and there's the outside that we try to get along with and see how that works. And that's the negotiation. Now, the question, you're probably going, gosh, we've been talking 10 minutes here, Emmy. Emmy, what's going on? The question had to do with how gender-affirming surgery would affect myself. So I want to think about what happens to changes to your identity complex. Imagine, here's just sort of a thought experiment. Imagine if you had to move back in with your parents. I mean, I thought about this example occurred to me and I went, oh God, what a nightmare that would be. It would absolutely change your behavior, part of the identity complex, because now your social environment has changed and that social environment now has different expectations. It's very possible that your emotions will change. It's almost probable. Maybe you're going to feel depressed. Maybe you're going to feel joyful because you're back in the room that you had when you were 12 years old and that was a beautiful time in your life. It's certainly going to change your thoughts. Maybe if you didn't want to move back in, maybe you feel defeated. Or maybe now you feel more comfort because you have somebody who can help care for you. It may change even your outward expression. You may end up wearing different clothes. Maybe you change your makeup. Maybe, and those are obvious adornments, but it could even be tension that you carry in your body, the way you walk, the way you hold yourself. Our social environment changes this because there are times when we don't feel completely safe expressing who we are. And when we don't, our body holds on to that. The point I wanted to make with this example, this somewhat horrific example, is that if you change one part of the identity complex, the changes will ripple out. This is what it means to have a complex, that one part can affect the others. So now let me answer this question. Gender-affirming surgery. What will happen when I change my body with gender-affirming surgery? This is actually, I'm going the opposite direction. I wanted to start by saying you'll probably change your behavior and then work backward to where we see your body, the way your body works is likely to change. But let's go the opposite direction. There is no doubt my gender identity changes. My expression of gender changes. And gender identity is the way that we express who we are, our sense of gender within our social environment. That's our gender identity. It's not visible, or for the most part, it will not be visible that I got surgery. I mean, I suppose if I wore a swimsuit, it would be more obvious, but for the most part, we're not talking about something that's visible, but my expression will be. I am likely to be more comfortable in my body. And I think that goes across not just physically. I alluded to sitting has never been very comfortable in a video this past week. Sitting has never been very comfortable. And then I have a very significant emotional pain, I guess, that I feel. I mean, this is what gender dysphoria is with some parts of my body. So after gender-affirming surgery, I'm likely to be more comfortable in my body, both physically and emotionally. And if it's going to change my emotions, it's almost certainly going to change my thoughts. I am likely to be happier. I'm likely to be confident, more confident. Certainly, I would be willing to wear a swimsuit at that point. These are fairly major changes for something that's not even visible. And I want to change the question just a little bit here, because I want to ask the question, how does gender-affirming surgery affect the capital S self? That's fairly important. Because you could ask me the question, why do I know I need gender-affirming surgery? And just like my favorite vegetable, all I can say is, I know it. I know that this is what I need. And this also answers the question, why can I predict how I'm going to respond to gender-affirming surgery? If this were an accident, like if I accidentally, let's say I lost a leg at some point, I don't think I could predict what it would be like, because I don't have any basis for even understanding what it would feel like. I think I have a basis for understanding what it's like to have these parts, and I think I can predict what it would feel like not to have these parts, because I know. The thing is, I'm going to go back to it, the thing is that the origin of identity doesn't change. It's still immutable. And my body has changed, but the origin of identity, which has informed me I express myself as a woman, that origin of identity is still informing the identity complex all the way down. It was the origin of identity that drove these changes to the identity complex. After I have the surgery, it will be the origin of identity that helps me understand what it does to me. So, surgery ultimately, and I know this question wasn't asked, but surgery ultimately changes my identity complex. But surgery does not change the person I am, doesn't change the self. That's different. That is the origin of identity, and that is immutable and is always going to be me. So there you go. I hope that answered the question. To be honest, I forget the person who asked it. I'm going to have to search among comments to find the place to post a link. But I hope that answered it. This really leads into my own theory of identity that, again, like I said there, I've got links that I put into the show notes. And hopefully, you'll be interested in reading those on genderidentitytoday.com. By the way, it's always free to read stuff. You only, a subscription grants you the ability to comment on them and communicate with the rest of us who are doing the content out there. So that is it. That's my philosophy bit for today. For looks like June 15th. Looks like, I don't even know what today is, do I? All right. You'll notice I'm kind of hedging around a little bit, hemming and hawing. The total new follower count ended up at 315 this week. I'm going to be dead honest. At no point did I really expect that, I thought I was going to pick up 20, 30 people a week. So when I made this promise that I will take a pie in the face for every 50 followers, certainly didn't expect this. So 315 divided by 50, of course, is 6, like it was last week. So I'm going to put you on hold, and we are going to set up outside, and I'll see you then. Shouldn't be on hold more than about 5 minutes.